Hi, I'm Graham.
I'm Tannan.
We are Crystal Street Comics, and once again we welcome you to Thoughts from Crystal Street. This week, not a lot of news again, just two stories, and we're not drunk like last week. So
not even close.
No, so the rambling shouldn't be as bad. That we rambled last week, kind of bad. We'll get it better this time. We'll get it better this time for you. So let's start, I think, with some CW news, which I love talking CW Warner Brothers shows, and that is now the apparent rumor that John Diggle could become John Stewart, and hence the CW would have a Green Lantern.
I'd be okay with that. I actually kind of like the idea. I mean, I'm not even... I like the idea that it could be John Diggle to John Stewart, Green Lantern. I'm just happy that they're actually pulling introducing Green Lantern to be introducing OA and then off-planet things.
Yeah, you're bringing a lot in with that.
Yeah.
And while I love it, I mean, obviously, as the shirt shows, Green Lantern is probably, of DC, my favorite character, and I do love the John Stewart iteration. I think that's a good choice to go with on the show. I think my single concern with it is Green Lantern is a character that requires a lot of special effects, and the CW does not have a great budget for that.
Yeah. Curious to see how far they can actually get into the character.
Yeah. Now again, it's the John Stewart, so you can get away with mostly laser beams or simple stuff for the most part. But he does. I remember when they brought Hal Jordan back to life in the comic books, they really emphasized that all of his constructs have real weight and bulk to them because he's an architect. I mean, every nut and bolt was in place in everything that he would make.
Yeah.
So his could get kind of intricate, but at the same time, I mean, they can scale that back. But it is a lot. I mean, you're talking flight, you're talking bringing in aliens. It's a lot of special effects for the CW, and again, their budgets tend to be low. But other than that, I'm super excited about that potentially happening.
I mean, and again, it is the barest of bones rumor.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty much
just don't hold your breath for it.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the actor saying he can't confirm or deny it, and it's in early talks. But that at least it's something, and he's at least feeding us a bit. So I guess we have to thank him for that.
Yeah.
So moving on to the second story, the one that I am super excited for because I'm the Marvel guy. SpiderMan is officially part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. To real quick, if you don't know exactly how this works, if you haven't watched the show, we've talked about Fox Marvel. Fox owns Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all the rights to those characters, so they cannot show up in any Marvel movies. Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, any of those could not feature a X-Man character. Now, there is a really, really weird exception with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
They can't call them mutants.
Yeah.
That's the Fox owns.
And they can't call them Magneto's kids, even though I guess in the comic books they're no longer Magneto's kids anyways. But, so there's some weird stuff there. And then, Sony has owned Spider-Man since the first Spider-Man movie came out. And so he's kind of been on his own island. Nobody can mention Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can't mention anybody else. Now, Spider-Man's a rare exception, I think, because he's got a really strong rogues gallery. I think next to Batman, probably the best.
Yeah, he is definitely, as far as rogues galleries go, he is Marvel's answer to really good and abundant villains.
So he doesn't necessarily need everybody else to tie in with him, but it's just the fact that you couldn't. And even more than that was the upcoming Captain America Civil War. If you have not read the books, I suggest trying to find trade paperbacks. I'm assuming it's broken up into several chunks.
A lot of chunks.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of books to buy.
But they are great reads, because it really is, what would superheroes look like in a post 9/11 world?
Yeah.
And the fears that we as civilians would have towards them. And actually, even going recently with all the stuff in St. Louis and New York with the cops, it kind of feeds back into that. Again, kind of the fears of people that are supposed to protect you.
Right.
But an integral part of that story was Spider-Man. Because while the main plot is Iron Man and Captain America being on opposing sides, Spider-Man was, to my knowledge, the only character that flipped.
Yeah.
In the entire Civil War. So he brings this interesting dynamic to the story, and the relationship between him and Tony building up was really interesting. It was almost Spider-Man was his protege, sidekick.
Right.
So not having Spider-Man in Civil War really was going to, I think, throw it all off, and now that he's there, I'm just happy.
Yeah, it's like, because I remember when they announced Civil War, and I was trying to figure out, we had the conversations, how are they going to tell the story without Spider-Man, because he is one of the, it is pretty much, for the most part, it's Captain America, Iron Man, those are your two sides. A lot of it was told through the lens of Spider-Man being not remotely as cosmic in nature, as powerful, and he was the one that actually sided first one way and then flipped. So you actually got, I would say, a greater in-depth story with Spider-Man's story than most of the other characters. A lot of the other characters just playing a role.
Yeah.
And it's very much his story, and it'd be very difficult to have that movie without Parker.
Yeah. I mean, there's already some interesting parts of that movie where I was like, well, how do you do this without Reed Richards? Because Reed Richards was kind of a big part of that story too, and you can't have him. But I figure, well, you're just going to put it all on Tony, and maybe Hank Pym, if they can get Michael Douglas to come and do his part as well. Right. But I thought that Spider-Man was a major missing component for that upcoming movie. Not that I wasn't going to not go see it because Spider-Man wasn't in it, but I think him being there now, that just fills me with joy.
Yeah, I mean, just for the, I would say, the longevity of the Spider-Man franchise for movies, it can only help that. I mean, because Spider-Man's been a Fantastic Four member, he's been an Avenger, he's been an X-Men, which we can't have that, or Fantastic Four for that matter, but he is numerous times running into, the majority of Marvel's superheroes take place in Manhattan. That's Spider-Man's playground. You can only have so many movies so often before Spider-Man should just be running into somebody. Yeah. Especially Daredevil. But I mean, just he should be. He knows these people. That you're soon going to have to just stick with your standalone movies that eventually stop making good comic book sense by not introducing, having your cameos.
Yeah. So, again, that was the big news. Now, with that news came a little bit of a change in the Marvel schedule. If you haven't heard, Marvel released basically all the movies they're doing through 2019. Now, because of Spider-Man now being part of the Marvel Universe, there was a little bit of a change around, but for the most part it's the same. You will see Captain America Civil War on May 6th of 2016, followed by Doctor Strange on November 4th of 2016, which I can't wait, I think. Yes. Cumberbatch's. May 2nd of May 5th of 2017, we'll see The Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. Thor... and then this is where the change starts to happen. Spider-Man, which had a movie slated for 2017, but now that it's part of the MCU, they are kind of adjusting their schedule around to avoid cannibalizing each other. So Spider-Man is now July the 28th of 2017, which pushes Thor Ragnarok back to November 3rd of 2017, and then we get Avengers Infinity War Part 1 on May 4th, 2018. Then I think it's kind of cool looking at the schedule. In between the first part of Avengers Infinity War, you get Black Panther on July 6th, 2018, and Captain Marvel, which will be a female Marvel movie, on November 2nd. That's Carol Danvers.
Oh, right.
Captain Marvel. And then you get the Infinity Wars Part 2 on May the 3rd of 2019. And then it all caps off with the Inhumans on July 19th, 2019. And we did the quick math. Assuming these movies only made $300 million each.
That's a low ball estimate.
And that's a low ball. I think
a low average.
I think Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel, just because they are untested franchises, those are the only ones you have to worry about in that figure.
Right.
And even then, they probably are low hundreds to make.
Yeah, I feel, yeah.
Either way, that's $3 billion for Marvel.
Not including their Disney.
Yeah. Well, Disney, yeah, but
Marvel, but
that's not including merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Yeah.
Disney has a cash cow. And they have Star Wars.
Yeah, they have 2 huge cash cows.
And they have Pixar. Disney, well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. We're gonna end it there, applauding for Disney and the billions of dollars they're gonna make in the next 10 years. So,
easily.
I'm Graham.
And I'm Tannan.
That was Thoughts from Crystal Street. We'll see you next time.
Sober thoughts.
Sober thoughts.